All right, so it's raining outside, which is appropriate because this is the death knell for this tractor, at least currently. Welcome back, my name is Brian, this is Flannel Farms, and the gearheads that are watching are gonna laugh when I tell you what's wrong with this thing. And for those of you who normally watch us for homesteading content and go,
"This isn't homesteading, why aren't you in your house making sourdough and water glassing eggs?"
well, one of the things we've learned is you need equipment to live this lifestyle, and unless you have a lot of money to just buy new equipment, which we don't, you buy old equipment, and then you have to know or learn how to fix it. When I started this tractor, to give you an idea of how little I actually knew, I did not know that the bolts that hold the head on have to be put together in a specific order and torqued to a specific foot-pounds of torque. I know, what in the world did I do? What in the world was I thinking tearing into a diesel 3-cylinder motor when I didn't even know that much? Well, you have to learn somehow. Sometimes learning is expensive. So this tractor spun a bearing. What is a bearing? I'm glad you asked. This is half of a bearing, and these bearings fit inside these connecting rods. And these have a little cap on the bottom like that, and the bearing fits one half in here, one half up top, and this goes around the crankshaft in the bottom of the motor, and as it goes around, the piston goes up and down and makes combustion, and bango, the diesel goes. So the original problem with it was it spun one of those bearings, which made too much play in the motor, loss of compression, so it would run, but barely. So I replaced all of those bearings, put new pistons in it, new rings, put the whole thing back together. She ran until she didn't. And she would start and stop and start and stop. We had no compression in cylinder 2, which is this one right here. And what we discovered when we finally took it all back apart was the motor had eaten the new bearing that I put in it. It completely destroyed it. And when we kept taking those bottom caps off of the crankshaft, what we discovered was they were getting worn as well way too quickly. This is one of those new bearings that I put in, and as you can see right here, it's already starting to get torn apart. It should not look like that. So why did the crankshaft eat my bearings? This is the somewhat embarrassing part where I had to learn things. When I took the old ones out, and they were super thin and had obviously worn, the crankshaft was scored. It had little lines and stuff worn in it. And so what I did was I took some sandpaper and I polished it up a little bit. I polished up the connecting rods. I put it all back together. What I did not realize is the tolerances in these tractors are down to 1 to 2 thousandths of an inch. So when this connecting rod is pushed together, it clamps that bearing in place. And then when you put the crankshaft in the middle, there's actually only supposed to be 1 to 2 thousandths of an inch for oil to be in that space to keep everything lubricated. So if you have 4 thousandths of an inch, you're hosed. And if you look at these connecting rods, you will see that they are scored. So when I went to kind of polish them up and smooth them up, all I did was make the gap too big for it to hold the bearing correctly, and then it wasn't close enough to the crankshaft, so there was just enough play that it blew that bearing apart. That's a whole lot of technical explanation for what are we now going to do with this 1968 Ford 4000 diesel tractor that we affectionately known as Hank. We're going to take everything else out of the motor. As you can see, we have not finished pulling the cylinders out. We're going to pull all the cylinders out. I'm going to rub everything down with oil. We're going to take the wheel weights off the back. We're going to drain the tires because they have a antifreeze fluid mixture in them for extra weight. And we're going to drag it out of here and we're going to go park it in our other barn. The bucket, which is what you see over here, is the reason that we put so much time and effort into this tractor. This is a very nice hydraulic bucket that was on the front of this thing, and we don't have any other tractors like it. And so we were desperate to try and put that one back together because these are not universal. This fits that make and model tractor from a certain specific number of years. I believe it's 1968 to 1972. This was incredibly useful on our farm. The problem is, for those of you saying, well, why don't you just pull the crankshaft off, send it off to get machined, buy new down rods and connecting rods and put it all back together, which is potentially doable if you know enough to do it. I do not. That actually involves breaking the tractor in half, as they call it. You have to pull it all apart. And you have to pull the front of the motor off. You have to take the motor out, flip it over, pull the crankshaft off, send it off to be machined. And the cost of having one machine, plus new connecting rods, plus new bearings, plus, is about the same price as I can now purchase another used tractor for that comes with a bucket. That would not be a new tractor, that would be another one from the 60s or 70s, but you can find tractors out there for $3,500 and $4,500 that have buckets. So basically, Hank is dead. Now, he might not be dead forever. At some point in the future, I would like to take it all apart. I would like to learn how to do those things. I would like to have the tutelage from a mechanic. And I've had a few people that have offered to help me do that, but the time involved is just not something I can do right now, nor the resources. That said, I would like to thank the people that have helped me on this tractor. We've had Mike, we've had Bill, we've had Rob, we've had Jeremy, we've had Mitch, we've had Paul. There have been all sorts of people that have talked us through things, bought parts for the tractor for us, donated their time and talents and tools, but we are now at a point where I have to basically cut my losses. We thought about parting it out, but I'm probably not gonna make that much in parts. I think it's more worth it to just go ahead and park it, put all of these bits into a bin, and then sometime in the future, when I have a few months and a couple extra grand, we might pull it in here. I don't even have the infrastructure to take the motor out. I mean, you have to have like a cherry picker to hold the motor up. It's a whole thing. So we're gonna just park it for now, carry on with our lives, and attempt to get another tractor in the future. So, thank you for your time. Thank you for investing in us as a family and as a homestead. And unfortunately, this saga is going to end for now, but at least we know what's wrong with it. This thing's been up for a year and we had no idea what was wrong with it. And we learned. I can't tell you how much I learned when tearing into this thing. So don't be afraid to buy old tractors. Most of them are pretty easy to fix. This one turned out to be a little bit above my pay grade, but don't let that stop you. It doesn't really matter what it is when you're talking about doing life. Be willing to jump in there, try something you haven't tried, learn, ask people for help. My knowledge has increased, I can't tell you how much from this experience. Sure, it cost us some money, but I will know for next time some of the things I can do, some of the things I really should leave to the professionals. My name is Brian, this is Final Farms. Keep growing as you grow. We'll see you next time. Bye.